and Susie, all the S's here today. So yeah, Sally, you were doing just a quick share. So maybe you can just repeat that very briefly.
Can I recap that?
Yeah, just in a minute, and then I'll speak to what you experienced.
I felt extreme peace and love all morning, even though things on the human level you'd think isn't something you'd want. But the experience of wherever I went and whatever I did of being in peace and love was just absolutely beautiful. But it just seemed a bit odd that the activities around me didn't seem connected with it.
Well, but they were. You just said they were.
Well, because but you wouldn't think going to a vet and taking your dog there and leaving her there was like pure peace and love.
But it's all
beautiful.
So my comments on that is it's not about the level of form at all. So whatever the activity happens to be on the level of form, in this case, it involved sorting out your dog's sickness. Your peace goes with you. This is the essential teaching of Yeshua. And wherever you go, your peace is with you. God goes with you wherever you go. It's a workbook lesson. And so it really doesn't matter if apparently the business is to sort out the dog's, ear infection or whatever it might be. Your peace is with you wherever you go, wherever you are. And so you carry it with you, and then you see reflections of that. So you mentioned people were just behaving in quite, very, very kind of peaceful, relaxed ways. You notice that. So that's a sign that you're connected, you're at source, and so what's happening on the level of form doesn't really matter. The source comes in to whatever the activity is, and does it for you.
So I had the impression that when you were in peace and love, things happened in harmony around you. Most of it did around me, and it was beautiful. When people nod off to sleep and look peaceful and things. But yeah, I suppose I had a belief that if anything was going a bit untoward in the physical world, that was a reflection of me in some form. But then how could I have that experience of extreme peace and love being played out around me if I hadn't gone to those places where people aren't normally peaceful and loving? I had to go there maybe to experience that in a new way.
Yeah, so it goes with you wherever you go, and it doesn't matter what's happening on the level of form. You could be in a violent war or being attacked, apparently on the level of form, and people have had these kinds of experiences quite often, where they bring their peace there, and it doesn't matter, where they are. Often, the more seemingly violent the external world is, the deeper they go into peace. Reading one guy's mystical account, he had a mystic experience on the battlefield. He was fighting one of the wars, Vietnam War, World War II, I can't remember. And in the middle of battle, guns going, and it's like bodies being killed, and he just went into a space where he saw beyond it, and he said it was beautiful and transcendent, even in that apparent horror of war. There was this pure peace that was flowing through it. So yeah, it's there wherever you are in the most seemingly egoic circumstances. That's actually when you need it the most. And then his perception of the situation transformed. So although on the level of form, there's still guns blazing and bodies being shot and killed, and his perception of the situation, he said it was just like a dream. It's all just kind of happening. And he realized that it was just a dream in that moment, and that he was actually above it, above the battleground. Yeshua literally uses those words. He was above the battleground, just observing, in that state of observation, even while the bullets are flying. And so it's an altered state of mind. People describe this, as one of the universal characteristics of these experiences. Everything slows down. It's like it doesn't seem normal. It seems like some kind of slow motion virtual reality. And so it sounds like you had something like that, except you happen to be at the vets.
Yeah, and the night before, when I could feel it was all a dream, I could see all these layers of dreams on, thought systems, and this interconnectedness dream that we're playing. That was quite clear yesterday. Kind of led on, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, you're doing the work consistently, and then these experiences just start to happen, and you're living in this, in the domain of enlightenment, where everything's different. When we say your whole life will change, life changing, I mean, that's a word that's been overused in spiritual and personal growth teachings. This is a life changing, but this really is. If you really apply this, which you have over the last, whatever it is, 5 months, it is life changing, because your perception of daily life will change, right? Pretty profoundly if you do this. Just the ordinary becomes extraordinary.
Yeah.
You remember if you ever did the masterclass? I'm not sure you ever did a masterclass. Actually. Oh no, you did afterwards, after you'd sign up. But I talked about an extraordinary ordinary life. So these are, you can go, oh, that's a bit cliched. Well, yeah, if actually it's not happening, if I'm just trotting out the term because it's a nice marketing term, extraordinary ordinary life. But actually, if that is what you experience through the program, your ordinary life becomes an extraordinary. Would you say this morning was an extraordinary experience? You're doing something quite ordinary. You've probably done it many times before. Taking your dog to the vet. Most people go, oh, that's not extraordinary. That's just like taking my dog to the vet. It's one of those, slightly annoying things you've got to do if you're a dog owner from time to time. So what's extraordinary about that? But what makes it extraordinary is your state of mind that you're in. And so then you have a mystical experience, deep peace, serenity, joy, while you're taking your dog to the vet. I mean, that's extraordinary. How many people do that? And then you just got to go, well, thank you. The spirit's showing you how to live this extraordinary, ordinary life. You don't have to do anything different. The dogs, you still, chop wood, carry water. You or take dog to vet in this case. Same life, same form of life that you had before, but now the experience of it is very different. And you didn't have to go anywhere. You didn't have to leave Sally's life and go somewhere and seek enlightenment in the Himalayas, or it's like right here in your daily life. That's where you do it, which is really the essence of all the great spiritual teachings. Zen, Buddha, they say do it right there. Of course, the Miracles is no different. Do it, right where you are. You don't have to go somewhere else, seek somewhere else. Enlightenment is right there in every moment in your daily life. In an extraordinary, ordinary experience of that life. And so why do you need to go somewhere? You're doing your life, but it's just a totally different experience. It's like you've gone on vacation every day. Gone on holiday every day, isn't it?
It really is.
Oh wow, okay. So that what's in store today. And I'm just doing the ordinary stuff that I've done maybe for years, but my perception of it is what's changed.
Yeah, definitely. I had another tiny little experience first thing this morning. I was I offered to give Lynn a lift up to the market we've got in town that she'd got to be up there quite early with all her stuff. And I'd said to her, I would do it, but I wasn't comfortable driving on the pavements because where her market stall is, it's in a pedestrian area. And I felt it just felt really wrong driving on this pedestrian area.
Mm.
And so I'd said that, and she said, oh, that's fine, just leave me on the road and we'll carry the bags from there. And then as we got towards the town, there was a refuge lorry right in the middle of the road, took up the whole road. It was only a narrow road. And the only way to get around it was over the pavement. So I'd got to drive fully on the pavement, all four wheels on the pavement, not just a couple of wheels. So I had to do it. I had no way of getting out of that. And as I'm driving the car over the pavement, smiling to myself, thinking, oh, well, you know, it's like a call to action. That was the hero's journey. Would I do this thing? All right, I will drive on the pavement. And then when I got up to where she was needing to go, I was able to drive through the precinct with the car. And it didn't feel a challenge at all. It might be only a small thing, but while I was doing it, I was smiling to myself. It was just so funny that the human me was like, oh, I can't drive through a precinct where it's only pedestrians. It just feels wrong. And I couldn't work out why it felt wrong. And then when I did it, it was like, wow, you know, that felt quite interesting, being in a car in the middle of an area I've never driven.
It's just a belief, isn't it? It's just a belief. And then you're forced, you know, the lorry there was happening for you. You're forced to confront that belief and actually do it. And so there's a little hero's journey there. Okay, you know, you've got a fear, it's arising, but you're aware of it. Lorry happens. Okay, it's a seeming obstacle, but actually it's not really an obstacle. It's actually making you confront a false belief and let it go.
Yeah, because if the lorry hadn't been there, I wouldn't have confronted it. I would have gone up to the next bit and gone, no, that's not drive to.
So now that's another false belief popped. Next time you're like, well, who makes these rules up that we can't drive in a pedestrian area? Who says that? This is it's a rule, that's all. Someone has decided, and then everyone adopts. Oh, no, you can't. Who sets the rules? I had a very interesting experience once. It really showed me this. I'll share it with you. So I was at school. I was in high school, secondary school, whatever you call it here. And so I went into we had a theater. It was quite a, you know, they had cultural activities, and there was a school play on. So at break time, they would rehearse. And for some reason, I had to go down there, but they were rehearsing. So I go down into the theater. They're doing their rehearsal. And there's no props, obviously, but there's a house in the theater. So they've drawn out or marked out with tape, whatever, on the floor where the house is, and there's the door. You know, so they're getting the actors used to this. So these guys have been doing this for who knows how long, a few weeks, and they were all so conditioned into the seeming fact that there was a house there that they couldn't think outside of that. Of course, I wasn't, because I just rocked in. So the master said, oh, well, grab him, he's an intruder. I was just having a little bit of like messing around, a little bit of fun. And when they went to grab me, they all tried to go in through the door, even though there was no door. They were all like lining up. There was 4 or 5 of them lining up to go through the non-existent door to get to me. And I was like, well, I'm just going to duck over the wall. And I just kind of ran clear. And it really stuck with me, because it was like, what kept there? It was just the belief. They believed the wall was there. They've been conditioned into that for weeks. And then someone comes along who's not conditioned and goes, well, there's no wall. And they go, no, in my mind, there is a wall. And isn't that just how human beings work? Most people say, no, there's a wall. Oh, no, there's a, you know, you can't do that. And I've never been one to follow rules at all. So I'm like, well, why not? Oh, someone says, well, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why not? Is there like some law? No, sometimes these things make sense, because you might offend someone, you might hurt someone. I get it. You know, there's some things are there for a reason, like driving on the left-hand side of the road. Oh, okay, perhaps that's a good idea, because if you drive on the right, you might just have a number of head-on collisions. So, you know, there's certain rules that you know make obvious sense, but a lot of the rules just make no sense at all. And I've always just gone, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, you made up that rule. and then I just break it because I'm like, well, that's just not sensible. You can't do that. I'm like, why not? So like some law written in stone. So you become more, what I've experienced, and that seems to be a universal characteristic of more sort of spiritually awakened people, is you become more field independent, it's called. Your locus of control becomes internal. It's not like so much, well, what are the rules and I'm going to follow someone else's rules. It's like, well, what feels right to me? And if that doesn't feel right, then I don't do it, or I do it, whatever. I go with the inner guide rather than convention. And so then you come across as being a little bit different, eccentric or whatever. Provided you're not hurting anyone, it's absolutely fine. And that's quite a good British tradition, I think, being a little bit eccentric. So
yeah.
Oh, Sally's just gone a bit eccentric. But when people get to 60, that can happen. So
I love people being eccentric.
yeah. Well, it just breaks you free of the convention. And those rules, which are really a bondage in the mind. Eccentric people don't listen to them. They don't honor them. I mean, they might have their own weird, quirky rules, I suppose. Depends on how they wind up. The truly enlightened, more enlightened person that has fewer rules. It's like there's really only one rule. That's the law of love. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's just kind of how they perceive the world, and then they act accordingly, and they flow with each situation. There's no rigidity of form. I watched if you ever watched the Bruce Lee movie, what was it called? Enter the Dragon, I think. It was basically Bruce Lee's story. He was the kung fu master, and so in it they showed you had to face the sort of local kung fu champion, and it was all like very scripted and formalized, and he's doing these moves, and he actually beat the guy, but then the guy cheated and kicked him in the back, and he was hospitalized with his back had to, I think he'd broken his spine, his back had to recover, and that was the best thing that happened to him, because he had downtime. He was literally like strapped to this bed, and his wife came and said, right, I'm going to write the book. And so then he started to go, well, let's question all the form of kung fu that's evolved over centuries, thousands of years. Why, and he reviewed the fights in his mind. He said, why did I do all that stuff? All the posturing and all the, like, it didn't make sense. Actually, it could have been so much quicker, easier, much more flowing if I just cut out all the form. And so what he started to do was reinterpret that ancient art, but now in a flowing way. And that's what made him quite unique. Then he came back, he'd written the book, and it was like, oh, he's ruffling a few feathers in the kung fu establishment, because he's questioning what seemed to be like sacred traditions, but he was just saying this has become form bound. It's lost the essence. Kung fu is all about connecting with the chi, the energy. That's really, and that's all about flow. So he said, you got to flow with it. If it's not flowing, then discard it. And then he fights the same guy again. He says, I'll beat him in 60 seconds. It was before it had taken many minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I'll beat him in 60 seconds. Everyone's like, oh. And he does. He goes in there and he uses his new style kung fu and demolishes the guy in 60 seconds, because he's in a different state of mind. He's in a flow state, and the other guy hasn't evolved out of his old way at all. He hasn't progressed, and that downtime, that injury that he had, was the best thing that ever happened to his career, because it gave him that stillness, that being time to really reflect, instead of just doing the kung fu and going through the motions, to really reflect and say, what is this really about, and what's coming from my being? And then his beingness reinterprets the ancient arts and brings something fresh and new to it. And the traditionalists go, oh, you're damaging the ancient tradition. But actually what's happened is the ancient tradition has become form bound, and this is just the renewal of it. Someone who is deeply connected to source is now coming in and saying, well, let's reinterpret this, and let's bring it new life for the spirit. And that happens over and over and over again. You look at what the Buddha did. He came into ancient India, and there were some problems with Hinduism. He didn't agree with how it was being taught. It had become too form bound, too ritualized. There were all these yogis who were teaching what he considered to be false doctrines. There was all these multiple gods, and he's like, okay, something's missing here. You know, you're not connecting with the essence of it. And so then he reinterprets it in another way, a fresh way. Of course, the traditionalists didn't like it. Oh, you know, who's this young upstart? Because Buddhism didn't exist then. And he comes in and he reinterprets it and gives people another way, a more direct way into the peace of their mind, which then over 2,500 years becomes again ritualized. You know, Buddhism then becomes formalized. This is how it goes, because people who are not in that state want to create rules and structure and dogma and put it all like in a way that their conceptual mind can accept and frame. And the spirit is totally, you know, not about that. It's not about rules and dogma and understanding conceptually. It's about an intuitive, flowing experience of whatever it happens to be, whether it's you know, Buddhism or Kung Fu. Anything is suitable for the spiritual practice, bringing the flow into it. So walking your dog, taking your dog to the vet, driving on pavements, you know, that's your life. It's all part of this flowing experience, which becomes your hero's journey. And that's the happy dream Yeshua's talking about. And that's saying, well, this can actually be quite good. I can promise you, this can be quite good if you allow this to happen. You know, moment by moment, you're in the flow, you're unfolding, and it's like, wow, you know, life can actually be pretty expanded, pretty miraculous, pretty extraordinary. And so, yeah, okay, I can manage this. I know it's a dream, but I can manage the dream for however long I need to, because this is actually quite amazing. I'm being reborn, you see. The age of 60, reborn into the spirit. You're seeing everything differently. And isn't that phenomenal? Like a whole new, fresh experience of life at an advanced age, when a lot of people are very, you know, rule-bound, mind-bound. It's all about thought. And you're just cutting those fetters and going, let me have a fresh experience of everything without prejudging it. And your life comes alive again. And there's all this life energy that's got to be flowing through you. And you can see it. It's like, you know, there's this deep peace and there's joy radiating through you. And it's like, wow, you know, that's wisdom and kindness and compassion. And people see that. And they will resonate to that frequency if they're open to it. And if they're not, then they'll tend to be a conflict. But that won't bother you. Just whatever. Just So I think the lesson really is don't interpret things on the level of form. I think sometimes your perspective is still too form based. So, oh, well, this should be happening because I'm in. No, your experience of it is what it's about, whatever it is. It's your experience, your perception of it. That's what you're responsible for. What other people are doing in the dream, well, they have their own dream, and that's up to them. But it's your experience. That's what you're directly responsible for. And if you maintain your peace and your happiness and your flow and your joy, then you have the extraordinary, ordinary experience. You live in the domain of the miraculous, and you'll spread that. People will notice, and that will spread like waves. You're almost seeing those waves going up. Sometimes in the movies they show these like, it's like, well, it is kind of on an energetic level. That's actually what's happening. You just can't see it with the physical eye, but you can feel it. You can tap into that, and then you're shining your light into the world. This is what Yeshua means. Again, people are, well, what does that mean? Shining your light. Okay, well, you've got to like have this sort of halo going on, and people are like shining your light. No, it's just this peace and this presence coming into the situation, and kind of subtly, it's underlying everything, and it's just kind of permeating through your life, and you bring it wherever you go, and then there is a subtle effect. You can notice, oh, maybe people are more peaceful. So I think look for the subtlety. It's a subtle signs not necessarily the form of, oh, okay, well, this shouldn't be happening. So underlying that, maybe there's an expectation. Okay, well, now I'm having these experiences, all of these kinds of things like sickness and suffering and death should just disappear. But that didn't happen for Yeshua. It didn't happen for the Buddha. They just it didn't bother them. They would go around and they would just see that as a call for love, and they would bring their love into the situation, which is what you need to do as a healer. So then just drop the no expectation of form. Really, that's the end. No expectation of form. It is what it is. And I bring my peace with me. I bring my light with me into whatever the situation is, and that will transform it. So I'll have an expanded experience, and I'm offering other people to have that experience of peace as well. Make sense?
Yeah, I like that. No expectation of form. Yeah, you got me there. Yeah.
God knows not form. The other, I think it was yesterday with Nick. That yesterday's I'll share my screen actually because I probably still got it up. God knows not form. Let's see, truth behind illusions. That's today's. Beyond all idols was yesterday, which is really a beautiful passage, really so related to the message of the day and the lesson. Sometimes it's just a lovely synchronicity. God knows not form. In fact, I'll bring it up here because then I can probably find it. Let's just search, find. So we go. Knows not form. There we go. 4. So if you want to read that alternative version of the paragraph.
Okay.
Never is the false belief.
It never is the false belief that you want, but what you think it offers you, you want indeed and have the right to ask for. Nor could it be possible it be denied. Your will to be complete is only perfect love's awareness, and this is given you by being it. By being it.
It's awareness,
Pure formless awareness of perfect love does not know form.
Yeah, so there's the line.
Seems obvious, doesn't it? But yeah.
Well, especially if you state it. See, this is the beauty of the reinterpretation, alternative language. Pure formless awareness does not know form. Well, yeah, obviously, because it's pure formless awareness by definition, see.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's God, I mean, so many of the religions, they make the mistake that God does know form. God interacts with form. God has a hand in form. God is some kind of agent and actor in the dream world, creating things and destroying things and punishing things and all of this. And as soon as you do that, you've made the fundamental mistake, haven't you? You've tried to bring formless awareness into form and somehow merge those and marry those. And now God becomes a dualistic God. And this happens almost every religion, unless it's pure non-dual teaching, as the Course is, or Advaita Vedanta. Those are kind of the purest forms of non-dual teaching. Every religion makes the mistake. God does know form. God is now an actor and an agent in form. And you think of the creation story, Adam and Eve, and all of that. God now has a huge role to play. God's creating and he's destroying and he's punishing. And this is a fundamental mistake, because God does not know form. So if God doesn't know form, how could God be walking in a garden in a physical form? That's ridiculous. Not possible. God knows not form. So it sets it at the transcendent level. And then you realize the answer is never in form, right? That's the illusion. The answer comes through in what underlies form. That's the the Tao, or the flow, as Lao Tzu called it. The Tao is like this essence that comes through in the flow of life. And you can then tap into it and you can experience it as this essence, this presence that's always there. So it's not moving. Things are moving, apparently. Things, people, places, circumstances are always changing. That's a nature. That's the ever-changing illusion. But the Tao, God, pure formless awareness, whatever you want to call it, does not change because it is not of form, does not know form. Cannot answer you. You want to carry on? Cannot answer you in terms that have no meaning.
Yeah, it cannot answer you in terms that have no meaning. And your will could not be satisfied with empty forms made only to fill a gap that is not there. It is not this you want. Being gives no separate person and no separate thing the power to complete the extension of perfect love. What false belief can be called upon to give the extension of perfect love what it already has? It seems quite obvious, but obviously I've missed that bit.
Yeah, well, it's obvious, but it's obscured.
Mm.
So we need the teaching to just make it okay. God does not know form. Okay, if I take that, I mean, and he means what he says. He's not beating around the bush. And it's more God knows form sometimes. This is categorical. He's saying God does not know form ever. It is pure formless awareness. There is no concept of form. That's why it's pure, formless awareness. And that's why you can return your mind there, and therefore you are free of all form. There is a place you can go in your mind where you're free of all form. That is your salvation or your awakening. If God knew form, there would be no place you could go where there was no form. There would be no formless awareness, would there?
Yeah, I hear you. I still see that there's some work to be done here, because I thought like we project our stuff onto other people. So I thought if I was in peace and love, I would project that onto people, and it would somehow, I would perceive it. I'd perceive it. Yeah.
But you'd extend it. Use the correct language.
To extend.
You wouldn't project it. You would extend it.
I would extend.
There's a profound difference in those words. Projection is trying to get rid of something you don't want, but by putting it onto someone else. So you're to blame. I don't want the guilt, so you're to blame. So I'm trying to project my guilt out. Whatever I don't want to face in myself. That's projection, as the Course defines it. Extension is I have this state of mind, a true state of mind. I have the love and the peace and the joy. I'm feeling it. And now I just extend it out in the way that I see people. And then that extends out in the way that I speak and I act. And there's this kind of lovely flowing extension out of my beingness. And those have a very different quality, don't they? Projection versus extension, if you understand the difference. One's like, oh, I don't want what's inside. So there, you have it. Desperation, fear, I don't really want this. There's a denial, using the external world inappropriately. Extension, I feel it in me, so it's inside out. So the one is outside in, and the other one is inside out.
Wow.
I'll show you.
Wow, that's new information. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
We've been doing this for months.
I know, but that feels different.
Yeah. Well, that's just how it goes. Inside out versus outside in. Let's bring up the when we actually do this course manual next year. Well, like I can. There's certain diagrams I refer to over and over and over. So this, where are we? Map of consciousness, integral model is what I wanted. So this integral model, like inside out is it's in your interior. You're deeply connected with your own experience of your own awareness of love and peace and joy. And this is now extending out into the behavioral level. Right? But it's coming from there. So you're not relying on anything outside of you to have that peace and joy. It's an internal experience, which is what you describe it. The vet is not giving you the internal experience. In fact, most people go, well, how are you so peaceful and happy at a vet? It's all about, it's an inconvenience, and it's about sickness and death. So you're bringing that in, the interior self, because you're connected to your true self. That's now extending through you into the external domain. And so your behaviors and the performance outcomes, you can observe the way that people are behaving, and the way that the whole situation turns out is different, because you're different inside out. So that's the essence of what we're trying to learn here. It's a way of living inside out, not outside in. So that is extension. Projection is going, oh, I don't like what's in me. I'm very uncomfortable. So I'm going to project it out to try and get rid of it. And now I'm going to see that this really quadrant, the external domain, is the determiner of my life. Everything's about the external, and I'm always reacting to the external. I'm trying to project out into the external. And now I require some kind of external change in order to change my internal state. Okay? So now I'm the victim of the world. I'm a puppet of circumstances, because that's the way I've set up the game.
Okay, so what in my line of work we often do is we look outside of ourselves to see what is happening around us, to give clues to our thought and belief system so we can clear it. And but yeah, the way you're describing it feels very different, that it's more like perhaps not even needing that outside feedback and just being inward and sending.
It's another step. So it's quite useful when you're learning this thought system to go, okay, so the external world is the projection of my internal mind. So that it's showing me my false beliefs. Wow, really useful insight. For critical insight, you need to see that. But as you start to collapse those beliefs and you're letting them go, those are no longer there anymore. So the external world is no longer reflecting those beliefs, because they're not there anymore. You've cleared them. And so now this inner self, the Christ, true self, true awareness, can just shine through, can extend into the world. And so instead of going, oh, well, how's that my projection, and what belief is that showing me? That's your normal pattern. You go, well, actually, yeah, maybe that's what I would have believed, and that's what I would have thought. But actually the case now is I am peace. I am love. I bring that with me. And these projections, whatever I'm seeing, that's just not true. So it's actually not a mirror of my false belief, because that false belief doesn't exist anymore. See, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep trying to find some kind of justification for those false beliefs. It doesn't help you. It'll help you to a point to become aware of them and then let them go. But if you're advancing and you're really experiencing that deep peace, then that technique, which you've obviously used a lot over is it really serving you anymore? It's in your toolbox. You can use it if you find you need it, but maybe it's not. Maybe try, okay, well, actually, I'm just so rooted in my peace. I am peace. I am love. And I bring that with me wherever I go. And now, instead of seeing things as a projection of potentially false beliefs, I extend my love and my peace wherever I go. And that's what I do.
Okay, so what's coming to me is, rather than wrestle with it and go, oh, what's my belief? What's my thought? I could, because I've done it so much, I know how to let go. Just go, all right, I let that go. I'm peace, I'm love.
Then you extend. So if you find there's a little bit of a less than peaceful feeling, use it as the call to let go. Okay, I can let go here. I can drop into that peace. I am peace. I am love. Nice breath break. Use the lesson. Set yourself into that state, and then you extend. So step one, acknowledge, okay, yes, there's something going on. It's not quite right, but very quickly I can let it go. I don't get stuck in step one. Oh, that's a projection, my false belief. And then you keep going, oh, well, what else and what else and what else? Because if you keep looking for it, you'll probably keep finding it, won't you?
Yeah.
And then the ego is actually using that mechanism to perpetuate itself. I mean, it's incredibly cunning. It'll use all this stuff, even tools that have been helpful. So sometimes you just need to move on. Say, yeah, okay, it's a tool in my toolbox, but now that no longer feels appropriate. Now it's more about just being. In the end, you don't have to have a technique for being. See, you just are that. You are the love, you are the peace, you are the joy, and you carry it with you wherever you go. And that's your natural state. So you don't need a technique for that. That's just what you are. That's, again, the hallmark of all enlightened beings is they attain that state. They go beyond technique and process and all of this. They may have used techniques and processes to get there. The Buddha, being a classical example, he did like 7 years of ascetic practices, and he did process to death, but literally almost to the point of death, because he took it so far that his physical body was nearly dead. By the time he then had the shift, and he woke up from it and said, no, this is not serving me anymore. I have to let all of that go. And I have to just start being, because he connected then with his deep beingness. I have to just start being and allowing my being to then flow into my doing. And he called that the middle way. Just another term, but it's really saying that, yes, you can be in the world, but you're not of the world. You're not allowing the world to dictate your thoughts and your emotions. You are internally directed. Your locus of control is purely internal. That is probably the primary characteristic of enlightened beings, purely internal. They come from that inner source, connected to their higher self, Christ self, Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it. And that extends into the world through their words and their actions. And people see that. If you really are doing that, then they will acknowledge that, especially in the East and so, because they attune to it. Here they just might go, well, I feel a bit different, but we don't know how to interpret it. So they might think you're a bit weird or eccentric or whatever, because they can't frame it within their understanding. In the East, they'd be setting up a shrine and worshiping Sally Guru, and then you go, no, absolutely, don't worship me as a guru, whatever you do, please, because I'm just the same as you. That's the whole point. Right? We don't want any separation, like, oh, I'm somehow now on a higher level. No, I've just accessed the presence that you are, but maybe you just have a few more blocks, and all I can do is try and help you to overcome this.
It's a good point you're making, because I can remember when, if I think about 10 years ago where I was, the family were younger, everything was as it was. And I never used to think so much, I worked in domestic violence, suicide, and mental health. And I used to just let things nothing used to trigger me. It never used to bother me. I just went with it. I always used to go with everything. And I used to think like that. It's just peace and love. But I think, especially the last few years, it's like you've been living a lie, and something's getting at you, and it's like, just with you speaking and clearing that up, it's kind of, I feel so restless, because I'm believing a load of lies about myself, and it's not sitting right at all. But like you just said, just start being and knowing that you are being, and that is your natural state. Peace is because I have experienced that before, but it just feels like the more work I've probably been doing to myself, I've made the ego louder rather than, but that's only bits of, I'm assuming it's just past experiences that I've never took hold of, especially when you think about childhood. And if you think about it, ego was formed in childhood, and you can't take that away. So it's like, I feel the more I do this, I've kind of had a toxic relationship with myself, because all of a sudden I've come to that realization of what I've been doing and whatever. And even if I've had guidance, it's like probably I've gone against it and just done XXX. It just seems really bizarre. Now when I listen to everything, it just seems you're in that state. So what's really took you out of it? I mean, everybody used to say you were, I used to get clients and everybody say, you really make me feel safe. And yet now when I do this work, I never feel safe anymore within me, not outside of me.
Well, it's temporary. So what you're facing then is the split in your mind. As you go within, you start to see the false self.
I see when you say split in your mind, that split in my mind seems to, like I've said before, it's 0 to 10 years old, but that's when everything gets formed, isn't it?
That's your conditioned mind, which starts from birth. You come in with karma. There's certain patterns that are already there, and then usually that plays out in the first 10 years of your life, and so that karmic pattern then gets reinforced, and you get conditioned. Now you have a program.
Yeah, I guess for the biggest thing for me, I didn't have that, like most of us, we don't have that nurturing and validation as we were born, because I know everything that I think about, there was a lot of emotional neglect, but there was a lot of physical abuse. So I guess for me was, the more I look at it, was I've never really had anybody say, you're good at this, and we shouldn't really expect that from anybody else. But even as growing up, if you've never had it, and I think that's the fight that's going off, that I've always managed to champion myself, but now I can't seem to do that, and it's bizarre, because it's not bizarre. It is the truth, But I do think as you're growing up, you need those experiences of like not permission, well, validation, or you wanted somebody to value you, or I think I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm getting mixed up with what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's difficult to put it into words.
Yeah, because my mum, if you think about your mum and dad, nothing else, the nurturing side is your mum, and then we always think not being good enough is a mother wound, but it's actually a father wound, isn't it? Because you're looking for his validation that you're doing something correct. But if you've never had your mum and dad, and that's why I think I feel so, even when you think about it, you don't feel belonging or whatever. It's just really opened a huge can of worms for me in a way of really questioning so much. And that's how I got on in life, but I never dealt with any of it. I never dealt with trauma, and it was only when I released that book I was told you've got post-traumatic stress, and I started to get down instead of lifting myself up. I didn't know how to move myself or shift myself.
Well, you needed some intervention, and so along has come the Course in Miracles, and you joined this Yad's group and then this program, and the Spirit's got you. It's saying, okay, I'll help you and just follow my guidance. And yeah, I mean that session you did earlier this week, that was profound healing. You came up against a core belief that's been there your whole life, so that's your core identity, the ego's belief in who you are, and you saw it maybe fully for the first time, and you just went, what on earth is this? What have I been doing? And so now it's like, okay, so there's been a kind of a seismic shift, and you've got to do some cleanup work and just integrate a new understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
Start living as the Christ that you are, this true self. It doesn't know all of that conditioned stuff. It's just a program. It's a false program. That isn't you.
But I never even understood Christ before, because like I said, there was never any talk of any Christ. Yeah, they had their own gurus, but I never looked into it. I really didn't believe it.
Most people don't understand, but Christ is the true self. So it's that self. When Sally's saying, well, I'm so peaceful, and I'm rooted in this presence, and I'm just feeling the peace, and I'm seeing that kind of rippling out, that's the Christ self that's experiencing this. See? So it becomes the true self, which then is able to perceive all experiences in the physical universe of time and space correctly, without any of the ego's misinterpretations. So true self and perception, which is then the Holy Spirit, deliver you ultimately to the experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love, God. So simple. It's just an operating system for the mind. That's what the Holy Trinity really means. But theologians and priests, they can't explain this. They don't understand it. You have to have actually experienced this to understand what Yeshua means. Okay, I get it. He's through the correction of my perception. That's the Holy Spirit. I'm changing my mind, and I'm restoring my mind to the idea of being one self, the true self.
But you see, 2015-16 was when I did BK for a while, and they spoke about Atman, which was being at peace and whatever. But I kept going against it, thinking you're not peace. So I don't know whether it's just stemming up even more. So I've not had that. It's amazing that I've been led that way, but I've chose not to follow that way. You know, that you are peace, that you are love, that you are. I just won't have it. It's that whole denial, isn't it? It's that whole refusing to denying something because you never had it as a child, or because, again, if I think about it more, I've always expected it externally, not inward. Yet deep within, you know the truth, because that you do have those moments where you do flow and whatever. I don't believe it's a constant way, but you do get those moments.
Well, it is constant. You see, that's part of your problem. You don't believe it is constant. That's the whole point. Right there, you hit another false belief. It's never changing. If it's eternal, then it means it's always there.
But then I can understand why I am the way I am now, because I've been filtering in and out and not believing anything and just thinking it is what it is. That's the ego's game, isn't it? It is what it is, and that's it.
So just looking at it on the level of form. But this is saying this is always there. True awareness, and this, God, Father, Heaven, love, oneness, that presence, it's another name for it, is always there. So
I guess I don't believe in it so much, because if I did, why did I go through what I did as a child? Why wasn't there something there? You know, and like I said, I mean, 0 to 10, it's quite black. I can't even remember anything, and I was surprised what was coming up the other day. But if 0 to 10 you can't remember, and everything was like, you told the truth. As kids, you do tell the truth, but if you're beaten up for that, for speaking the truth, I can see why I feel so stuck. I feel really, and I can see why I've created it, to keep myself safe, to protect myself, forever protecting myself. But again, it feels like you've let go of one kernel and there seems to be another kernel coming up, and I guess that's all to do with the control aspect of trying to control everything to keep myself safe, and not even realizing that those patterns are still running. And I'm seeing that in the outside, probably like with the dog, or if something's happening, not doing it my way or that way. So I'm seeing bits of it. But I just think every time we're coming on, I just feel really shocked, or to the ignorance of what I know. We're all ignorant at times. I still can be. It's just I just find it unbelievable, and I think that's what's disturbing my sleep, peace, or.
Well, you're facing this falsity of the ego. You're going, oh my, I'm seeing just the absolute falsity of this whole self concept that I've believed in, and that has to happen in order.
And all the work that I've done on myself feels like I've done it on a wrong, wrong belief system, or
it's led you here.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people are trying to do is they think that a better false self is going to work. So I'll dress the ego up and I'll make it pretty and I'll I'll give it toys to play with, and I'll give it money and success and power and fame and pleasure and all these things, and then I'll be happier. And of course, it's not going to work, because the false self is still a false self. Oh, and I'll have a bigger false self. I'll have a more glamorous, sexy, whatever definition you want to put on that false self. And this is what most people are trying to do. And the spiritual teaching of Yeshua and all the masters saying, give it up. That self doesn't exist. There is no other self.
But I get what you're saying as well. There is a part of me, or whatever's coming up, is just that you haven't been listening, not really, really listening. And then I go back to, and I know there's no need to, but you won't want to listen if 0 to 10 you were fighting for your life. So probably I'm still fighting somewhere inside of this fight, rather than just thinking, that it's happened, it's the truth, it did happen. Yeah, let it go and just.
Well, it didn't happen. You see, this is your problem. It didn't happen, Susie. That's what you've got to remember. You say it happened and then you let it go. You can't, ultimately. You go, it seemed to happen.
I think that's really hard to say then. And I guess.
It already happened.
Yeah, I think that's.
Can you show me your past? Can you show me evidence that your past happened? Other than what you remember.
Scars.
Okay.
But that's the body. That's the body. But probably I don't understand this. I don't understand life. I don't get it. And I'm probably sick of just because I don't really get it. And I don't really get anything anymore.
But that's good. Because remember, it's all about going into the unknowing, saying, I don't know, I don't understand anymore. I'm totally confused, I'm lost. Great, that's perfect. That's exactly what you need for spiritual awakening. Because if you think you know what's going on in this red box, and you think your current perception and interpretation of that is correct, there's no room for transformation, is there? You just keep running the same program, you interpret all of it in the same way, from the same false self. And you have to look at all of that and say, I really don't understand this anymore. I have no idea. My current way of interpreting and framing this, it's not correct. That's the beginning of the transformation, isn't it? Because then you're opening yourself to another way. Okay, well, maybe there's another way of looking at this.
Can I share something? Because I see that Susie's just had a big aha.
Please.
That when I had an experience where I built my whole life on my childhood abuse. I thought all my abusive childhood was who I was, and I just had to get on with it after that. And then I did some breath work, and I had this incredible moment where I realized it wasn't true. My childhood wasn't true, that it was only love, and that it was just my fear had created all this drama in my childhood. And it didn't make it go all away instantly, but I feel like you're hitting that point, Susie, where it's like, but that did happen. That is what happened. That is who I am. And then when you start pulling the rug away and go, well, actually, you made that up in your mind. That didn't actually happen. It really shakes your world, doesn't it? But, maybe you'll have an experience that clarifies that at some point. But I feel that you're a bit shaken at the moment, aren't you, Susie?
Yeah. And I think I've been living through fear all my life, and I just think I've lived a whole, I don't know what I'm living.
Well, you're seeing the falsity of the ego, really fully maybe for the first time. It's like the lid's been lifted and you've seen it, and there's no going back. Once you've seen it, it's like a seismic shift. That self-concept is cracked. And you can never repair it. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. It's these nursery rhymes like have spiritual truth in it. It's cracked and it's broken, and don't try and fix a broken self-concept, because you can't. It was always broken in truth. Now you've just seen how broken it was. So be willing to just keep cleaning it up. Whatever arises, you let it go. You say, this isn't me. I am love. And you keep repeating that. You are this self. And when you say I am love, you identify yourself with the true self, Christ, Buddha, the Atman. You bring yourself into that awareness. And now that awareness is what's going to interpret the circumstances and events and situations in your life. And it's going to give you a different perception of it. And it's going to give you the guidance that comes from that perception. So that's Christ and Christ's vision in this true perception, Christ's vision or miraculous perception, miracles, whole awareness, true forgiveness, letting go, surrender. These are all the terms we can use. They're all the same thing. That's what you got to realize. Whatever you call that, it's perceptual, but it's coming from your true self, which knows that you are one self, that you are immortal and eternal. And all this conditioning and programming that seem to occupy your mind for so many years was all BS. It wasn't true. It was just a covering, a false self concept that's now been revealed for what it is. And so it feels just, it can feel very unstable, because what you're seeing then is the instability of that egoic self-concept, and just how crazy and fragile and weak it really is. And this is not a foundation that you can build any kind of quality life on. And you've seen that. And now the ego is desperately trying to scramble back into your awareness. Oh, no, but no, I still want to exist and listen to me. And so it's all very confusing. But this is the time for faith. Just let it go. Say, no, I'm not going back there. You can't pull me back into this dark belief. I've seen it for what it is, and there's no way I can go back there. The only way is forward to this true self, and a total correction of all my perceptions, which is healing, and that's going to deliver me to God. So what I love about this Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or pure formless awareness of perfect love, the true self, and Christ's vision, or true perception, let's say in alternative language, is it's a system you can actually use. You can work this in your life, because pure formless awareness of perfect love is beyond you most of the time. That's the underlying. But when you're operating in the world, you're not in pure formless awareness. You have some awareness of form. So you stay rooted in your true self that knows that there is just this one self, this one presence, and now can interpret from that higher self, interpret all of the people, places, things, events, circumstances, and all of your experiences for you. And that's what this course is. This course is this and this. It's set at the level of the true self and the perception of the true self that's going to reinterpret the world for you, which then reinforces your true self, which brings you more and more into an experience, a direct experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Do you understand what A Course in Miracles is then designed to do? It's actually really simple. It's saying it's going to help you to change your perception, to identify more and more with this. And the more you do that, the more of this kind of experience is going to just naturally arise in your mind. And eventually, God takes the final step. You merge into this awareness, and there's no longer a need for these other concepts. You don't need a true self or a Christ, and you certainly don't need perception or the Holy Spirit to reinterpret your perception. But here, while you're seemingly human, these are incredibly useful tools to help you to get out and return your mind just to this.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're both saying. I mean, it's just that you doing your best to let go of this identity, which is just clinging on, and that's what's painful, because you don't want to cling on, and you don't even realizing you're clinging on at times, and that's the thing. That I guess that's the joy of letting go and holding on, because you don't even realize you're doing it all the time.
And so once it becomes conscious, then your ego's in serious trouble, Susan. Serious trouble here. That's why it's all kicking up a storm. It's like, oh dear, it's been rumbled. And now it's got to try and find a way to restore itself into your mind. And you can't accept it. Your mind is now too enlightened. You've seen the truth to go back. And so it's desperately clinging on to something. So maybe another session would help. I think it would definitely.
It is. I think when you say that, because obviously we watch things and do things, I guess I get really tripped up on the idea of ego and the inner child, because you would understand. I mean, yes, there's loads of voices that go off, and like I said to you this morning, I've had, there's like shame or whatever going off, but there's that one door of innocence and genius that I just can't tap on, because it feels like, even like, I don't even have dreams, but to have that as a dream, to know that you've got all these doors going off and that one is just blocked, right in front of you. And then there's that whole thing that comes up about the ego and the inner child, because obviously you would have, and I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. I don't get it, because you could say the ego is a self-image of yourself, but if you came here for an experience and you had to experience that, and that's where I think that my whole understanding, and I don't even want to understand, to be fair, I just want to go to sleep and wake up and just, I get on with stuff, but boy.
It's challenging. Yeah, well, this is why it's the hero's journey.
But like I said, you have created the ego. You've created the ego with how you were as a child. And you would have done, just to get over those behaviors, or, trying to keep yourself safe, or having to pretend that you're a good person all the time, or I don't know. So I think that's the click. That's the bit where I'm getting so confused, to think, if that was an inner child, and that inner child was brave to get through what they went through, but then you created all these habits or whatever, so you're supposed to embrace it all. And
no. See, this is where the course is different. You're saying you don't embrace the ego. False self must be exposed and let go of. You cannot accept a false self and a true self into your mind at the same time. They contradict.
That's the trip up then, because I can swear that's got to be the trip up, and that's what's keeping me the way I am, because I guess I feel sorry for the inner child rather than do anything. But, well, you do, don't you? Because it was a part of, because, yeah, we're talking about form and formless. I'm not at formless as such, because I'm not,
Well, you are.
Well,
you just don't think you are yet. Whatever suffers is not a part of me. That's inner child, whatever you want to call that. Any sense of a separate self that had those experiences that suffered is false. And must be undone.
You can't, that's it. I've obviously. So there's something in the course that's really freaked me out, or there's something gone off, isn't there? Because I've been all right on it, and then all of a sudden, this 0 to 10, I know that's been blocked out. I know you're supposed to be looking at the experiences and trying to unfold them and unpick them, or you really. I'm just saying that I used to get on with stuff and just, I can't believe all the jobs I've bloody done with all this hanging over my head and just getting by and doing it all. And now all of a sudden.
Well, you repressed it all. It all went down into the subconscious, and you went, okay, well, I can kind of function. I'm functionally dysfunctional because it's all going on in my subconscious, but I stuff it down there, and I can function on the level of form. People don't really know. They don't know what's boiling down there, and so I can kind of seemingly fool myself and the world. Present the image of Susie, who's kind of got it together, and you did your life coaching, and you've had a family, and But all the time, on the deeper level, all of this stuff's going off, and you know it. You know it's not all right there. And now it's a day of reckoning. You have to really look at it. It's okay. Let's look at all that stuff. Let's stop covering it over and shoving it down. Let's bring it all up into the light of awareness. See it for what it is. That's exactly what we did the other day. And this is how healing works. You have to bring it into conscious awareness, and it's going to kick off, and it's going to be difficult, and the emotions and the thoughts, and it can seem a bit like runny scrambled eggs. It's just all over the place, and it's really can't get a handle on it, and you can't control it, and because you're used to controlling it with your ego and saying, no, just stuff it back down there, box it all, and just be okay, Susie. Man up, woman up, and just do what you need to do. And that's not a program that's going to serve you anymore, because you need to really look at this, process it, and if it takes time, then you need that time. And it's okay if you go, I'm not okay. You can say to your partner, look, I'm actually not okay right now. Just understand, it's okay. And I'm just processing. I'm dealing with this trauma that I've gone through. And so it's almost like you re-experience the trauma in order to let it go. So it's all good, Susie. It's all happening for you. Just know that. And I think what you've got to stop doing is saying, I'm in charge of this. You're not in charge of the process. The Holy Spirit's in charge. So you just need to listen. Okay, you show me. Get up every day. Show me. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What are the lessons for today? There's a daily lesson which is given to you by the Holy Spirit. Okay, so then use the daily lesson to interpret all of this, to help you to just reinforce this. This is very young, that you've just been reborn in the Spirit. The session we did the other day was profound. So now it's about confirming this, entrenching this in your mind, using this operating system, the Christ, extending into the world, changing your perceptions consistently to reinforce this. Because you need a replacement for that old ego. Which is why the Yeshua gives you this idea of the true self or the Christ. The Buddha didn't even give people that coming. He said there's no self. Doctrine of anatta, no self. So there's just the void. He was like, we won't even have this as a temporary expedient. We'll just go to no self, which is just this pure formless awareness of perfect love. But you have a bridge here. This self can be a very, very useful intermediary and bridge while you're here. So that you don't go into the terrifying, void and say, oh, there's no self. It's just too much to handle. Because in this, there is no self. Although there's an awareness, there is no separate self. This is one self. But it's still a self-concept. But it's the highest self-concept you can have while you're here. The self-concept that's ultimately going to restore your mind into no self-concept, no self, just the pure formless awareness of perfect love as a pure experience. It will lead you there. So just keep doing the work. Okay, every day I show up, I do it. Join these sessions. They're happening 5 times a week. 6 times a week, plus the evening sessions if you can. So even if it's just the day sessions, you can do 3 sessions, 5 sessions a week. To heal this, you need to just process all of this and install this new operating system. Like the old operating system, let's say Windows, has been shown to be corrupt and flawed. And now you need a new operating system. And that needs to be installed, and the old one hasn't quite gone, and so there's this confusion in your mind as to which operating system do you actually believe in, and that's all a bit confusing and difficult, but it's all part of the process. So it's all going in the right direction. It's all happening for you. Okay, so let's have a little look at today's reading, and then we'll go into the lesson and we'll do a quick meditation.
Feels like it's been quite a life-changing session.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the quote.
To be Jedi is to face the truth and choose. Give off light or darkness. Padawan? What's Padawan?
Padawan is Star Wars speak for an initiate. So the learners on this Jedi path, which is a spiritual path, were called Padawans in spiritual terms. Those are initiates in that path.
Okay. Be a candle or the night. Okay, I choose candle. Today's quote by the Jedi Master Yoda, the equivalent of a Zen master in the Star Wars movies that were based on Buddhist principles. He tells Luke Skywalker, an initiate in the ways of Jedi, who were called Padawans in the movies, what this ultimate choice is. Luke must face the challenging truth and then choose between truth and illusion, true awareness and false beliefs, light and darkness, as all initiates on any authentic spiritual path must.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
I think your suggestion today of rather than me keep focusing on letting go of the beliefs is to turn around to the light and just go, I know who I am now. Enough. I'm not going to invite the ego to keep making up new beliefs for me. I can just let it go. As it comes up, I don't need to go through these processes I've been doing anymore. So, yeah.
I am that. So the I am present says I am that. In that I am, if you really go into the experience of it, you let it go. There's no false belief there anymore. So it's just like fast tracking it. It's like, okay, it's happening real time. It's happening so fast. There's not even a sense of letting go. You see, that's where you're going with it. Just is. You are that self. Something comes in and you don't really waver off that self. There's no need to go, oh, what's the belief? And no, because I am still that self. And if there's a little flicker, you just go, no, I am love, I am peace. And you have that anchor.
Yeah, I know it well enough now not to have to battle my way to it. So, yeah, extremely amazing session. Thank you, Jono.
Really a pleasure.
I think Susie and I have both had a wow.
And what's so interesting is we do this over and over and over again, and yet
you hear it differently. Yeah, no, just something dropped in. I can't remember, but it was like, something's just cleared out of my consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I think what's happening, you've got to move on. See, you can't keep the same tools in the toolbox and doing the same thing when you've advanced. There's a point where you go, okay, those tools will serve me well. Make no mistake. I mean, great, brought you to this point, but there's a point where you don't need the tool anymore because you are the presence. You are that, and that beingness is where it's all going. There's no technique in beingness. It just is what it is what you are. That's where this is all leading. So as you progress towards that, you've got to let go of the techniques that took you there, because they become fetters. Then they're not going to take you to the just, yes, I am that presence and I know it, because there's no technique required there. You just are that.
Yeah, I've been dancing in the physical and the non-physical, and so today I let go of trying to control the physical experience, which feels big. Yeah.
And just bring your presence into that wherever you go. God goes with you wherever you go. You don't have to try and change the physical. Why are you trying to change an illusion? It's just a dream, you see. Just you see how subtle it is, though. So I was, okay, so I'm seeing it, projection, yes, and that's really useful that you did all that work for years, because it made you aware of the false beliefs. And I was like, okay, let it go. You don't need that mechanism anymore, because you're so rooted in your true self. But just remain rooted. And if you have a little flicker and something that challenges that, just go back to, no, I am peace. And your name even says it, you know, it's in your name. I am peace. That's the truth of me.
Yeah,
And in that moment, you're just in your beingness, and you don't need a process. You don't need a technique. You just are that presence. And then the guidance will come from that. Whatever you need to think or say or do will come.
it makes me feel like crying with relief. It feels like a pressure off my shoulders, because I've in the middle of the two worlds for a while, and I couldn't quite make sense of the old way of doing it anymore. And it just feels such a relief. Yeah.
I think my own path, I mean, I've been through many processes, many things I did, and then at a point, just like you go, okay, this doesn't really work for me anymore, so I've got to let it go. And you know, if I try to hold on to all those processes, I mean, there's just not enough time in the day to do it all. So you just move on, and you go, okay, well, that served me to that point, and then I move on. You know, remember, on the hero's journey, you travel light. You don't carry all these things in a big backhoe. Well, you know, just in case I might need that, or I might need that. You know, that's not free now. You've got all kinds of burdens and fetters you carry, even if it's supposedly, you know, it's a technique or something that you've used in your past that's helped you. So it's almost like a lack of faith thing, isn't it? You're like holding on to that because, oh well, I might just need that. So it's just I am the presence that I am is there, and I accept that. I surrender to that. It's that presence is what keeps me safe always. It's always there in my mind. It will give me the whatever thoughts and words and actions that I need. It will take me there. And so you just learn to trust that, and that's where he leaves us. Let's go through. I've done this before, but have another look at 365. This is where he leaves us. The end of the course, last 5 lessons, repeated 5 times. So maybe just read that quickly, both of you. So one read the bold, and then the other one read the paragraphs underneath it.
This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace.
And if I need a word to help me, he will give it to me. If I need a thought, that will he also give. If I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of him. He's in charge by my request, and he won't hear me and answer me, because he speaks for God, my Father, and his Holy Son.
So that's where he's leaving you. And he says in the epilogue, no more lessons are required. So this is the end. He's leaving you in the charge of this presence. You have the Christ self, you have this perception, you're going to be guided, and you simply live in that presence. And the mind training was necessary to connect you with that presence, allow you to listen and take the guidance. But if you are that presence and you are guided, then no more need for practice and processes. So it's like, just surrender into it. Say, okay, you do it. Goes beyond process and technique to pure beingness. Okay, so let's go back to this. Finish this. So it's easy if you read the next one. Luke's father,
Anakin Skywalker, had chosen the darkness of fear, anger, hatred over the light and of truth, and the gifts that it inventively brings into the awareness of the love, peace, and joy. Condemning himself to live in the darkness of his own deluded mind, symbolized by his suit of armor as dark.
Very scratchy. I don't know what's going on. Your connection is not good. It sounds like you're typing or something, but never mind. So, so if you know the story, you know, Anakin represents the person who's chosen the dark side over the light. So a good symbol, a good warning for us all, because he was a Jedi, and then he turned to the darkness, and he let his fear and his anger and his hatred overwhelm him. And that's the epic story that's in the movies. That's why they blockbuster movies, because it's the story. It's not the sci-fi. It's the galaxy and all the battles. That's just the setting for the story that's going on, and then that's why they've been so successful, because there's the spiritual depth, the meaning, and we resonate with them because we all have the dark and the light in us. And so now we see these characters' struggles, and we identify with them. And we all have an Anakin in us that doesn't want to go to the light, that wants to choose the darkness and the fear and the anger and the hatred and go fully into that. And so you watch the movie, if you watch it, you know, do it with the point of view of it's mind watching. So what's arising for me as I watch this? Because it brings up these thoughts and emotions in you. It's like you can learn from this whole allegory, right? It's like it's a story, but the story is designed to teach its viewers spiritual principles. And Star Wars is based on the hero's journey, which George Lucas studied, and Buddhism. And he wanted to put something into a blockbuster movie series that would teach these principles to the world. And he's done a pretty good job, I have to say. So the second most successful movie franchise in history, Star Wars. So it's out there, and so these principles, you know, the Jedi just symbolize the higher consciousness, the truth, all the spiritual parts. It's all in there in the Jedi, and then you have them, you know, the opposites, the Sith. Those are the people who choose the ego, and work through fear and anger and hatred and darkness. And you see that contrast, and really that you have to make a choice. You can't choose both. You can't be a Jedi and a Sith. It's very clear it's one or the other. You know, as Yoda says, you must choose. You must face the truth, and then you must choose. And that's exactly where you've come to, Susan. So you're an initiate on the path. That's a Padawan learner. And you must choose. Am I going to give off the light or darkness? Am I going to be a candle or the night? So I can't be both. Which self do I choose here? Because I can't be both. One of them is true and one is not.
Just reading that, though, looks like I'm choosing the darkness for whatever reason.
Well, because the darkness is persistent, but you're not, because you're showing up to these sessions and you're doing the work. So the darkness doesn't just want to go. You know, that's the shadow, which in Anakin's case was seemingly really powerful, and he chose it. That shadow arose, and it consumed his mind, and he denied his light, and he went fully into that character, became this monstrous, you know, Darth Vader character. But in the end, it's a story of redemption, because you get to episode 6 and he's redeemed, and he finally lets that go, and he awakens from it. And so people love that, you know, it's a story of the human story, and that's all it's, you know, happening in a sci-fi, and there's all the battles and the action, but that's just the setting for the deeper story to unfold. So, you know, it's a great mind-watching movie to watch, and then there's the follow-on, which is actually the previous two back in the sequence, but we'll watch that next, where you can see how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, choices he made. Very, very enlightening movie called Revenge of the Sith. So we'll watch that as well as a movie watching. But watch this today. I'll repeat this tomorrow. So this will be our movie for tomorrow if you haven't watched it today. And so you start to see, look, this is all teaching, isn't it? the lessons, the messages are there in these teachings. You don't need to look very far, and you can see these teachings coming through so clearly in this story, this allegory of Star Wars. There's really a teaching for the world, for those who have the eyes to see. And we're all Luke, and we're all Anakin, and we've all got that choice. And so they just, the reason why these movies are successful is because people resonate with, this is their own hero's journey, and they identify with the characters and the struggles and the choice that they have to make. Luke has to choose. He has to face his father, who represents his own shadow self. He goes, you'll see in the movie, he goes into, in his training, he goes into a kind of dark, shadowy place. And he says, what's in there? And Master Yoda says to him, only what you take with you is in there. And then he fights in his mind, he fights Vader. And when he cuts off his head, he sees his own face. He's just cut off himself. This is his own shadow self that he's confronting. And Darth Vader just is the projection of that self. So some really, great spiritual stuff in there. So definitely worth a watch. And do it, consciously. So really, be aware of what's coming up. The whole point of mind watching is to just observe the thoughts and the emotions that are coming up in you. And say, okay, so what is coming up? You said with that movie I shared a month ago, the Bliss. So you said, oh, actually, I could see how this can actually be a really good spiritual practice. So you can do it. Watch any movie that way. What's arising from it? Okay, so let's have a look at today's lesson. 251. I think we have time to do what is sin, so we'll have to defer that to Sunday or next week. We've got 9 more days to do it, so let's just dive into the lesson. So, Sally, if you can read the lesson and the alternative.
I'm in need of nothing but the truth. I need nothing but the truth. I sought for many things and found despair. Now do I seek but one, for in that one is all I need and only what I need. All that I sought before I needed not and did not even want. I only need, I did not recognize. But now I see that I need only truth. In that all needs are satisfied, all cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. Now have I everything that I could need. Now have I everything I could want. And now at last I find myself at peace. Ooh, profound.
I find myself at peace. So read the alternative. I think you'll quite enjoy this.
I sought for many things and found despair. Now do I seek only one, for in that one is all I need and only what I need. I did not need all that I sought before. I did not even want it. I did not recognize my only need. But now I do recognize that I need only truth. In that, all needs are satisfied, all cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. Now I have everything that I could ever need, and now I have everything I could ever want. And now at last, I find myself and am at peace. I find myself. Literally.
So I've changed it. Last, I find myself at peace. I find myself and am at peace. It's much more like I am the self and I am at peace. So you claim that. I am peace. That's your essence statement for you, I think. I am peace.
Yeah.
You just say that, And that's the only technique you need. You just drop into that. I am peace, and you drop into that awareness of peace the moment you say that. And therein is the forgiveness. You just let go of whatever else was going on, and you restore your mind through that simple I am at peace reminder into the this peaceful state, which is what you are. That's your true self.
It's interesting. I've got lots.
I am peace, you see. I am peace.
I am, yeah.
I find myself and am peace. Sounds you actually just need it as a, so I'll keep the at here. But your essence statement is so direct. That's the whole point. It's not I am at peace, or I feel peace, or I experience peace, or now I choose peace. It's I am peace. And that's so powerful. So say that a couple of times. I am.
I am peace. I am peace. I am peace. I am peace. I know, I am peace.
And there's just a knowingness that comes with that. And in the end, that's all you need. If you need a technique, I am peace. Bang, drop into it. There I am. That's why the name of God in the Bible that was given to Moses was I am that I am. It's just this great I am presence. And we put another word onto it, like peace, or you could use love, or you could use joy or power, just because we need maybe a little bit more of a pointer still. But it's this great presence.
I've just seen you as 007, but not 007 Sally, but I am peace. Sally peace.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. That's how you'll start introducing yourself.
I am peace.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's true, you are. I am peace. Sally Peace. The name is Bond, James Bond.
Okay, guys, thank you for that. I'll adopt that.
Yeah, you are peace. So write that, that essence identity. I am peace. You write that on a card and just keep it with you all the time.
I've got it written next to my bed, on my mirrors. It's everywhere. Yeah.
So just remind, I am peace, and that becomes your default go-to, statement. I am that presence. I am peace. I am peace. I am peace. And Susie, for you, you know what yours is? Yeah, what's yours?
I'm love.
Yeah.
I didn't really
Susie love.
Yeah. So say it with conviction. I am.
Yeah, I am. But we all are, aren't we? And that's what it's just phased me. It's just threw me back. That's all it is. It's kind of know the truth, and I know, like you said, you go into form and formless. It's going to happen. Yet you do know deep down the truth of who you are.
So say it.
I am love.
And again.
I am Susie love.
No, it's not.
I am love. I am love. I am love.
Just that. Nothing else. No embellishment, no Susie love, no, it just, I am that. And if you can.
But you've always got to have a bit of humor in my eyes, I think. 007 sounds good. Probably that's, what's got me.
Just be careful of the ego, because it doesn't want you to know this. I am love is the end of it. So it's going to be highly resistant to that. Find all kinds of ways to duck and dive around that. It's such a direct, simple statement of truth. That's why it's so powerful. Straight in there. I am love. Okay, no beating around the bush, no fancy words, just 3 simple words and an experience that brings you into.
And thank you for holding that space once again, because this is the loving space that we're in.
Yeah. Well done for showing up. Okay, so last little prayer, and then we'll go into meditation. If you have to go, do you both have to go in 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Susie, can you stay for meditation or not?
I'll stay for the meditation.
I'll read the first bit and then I'll go.
Hmm.
For that peace, our Father, we give thanks. What we denied ourselves, you have restored, and only that is what we really want.
For that peace, my source, I give thanks.
To read that. And for that peace, my source, I give thanks. You have restored what I denied myself, and only that is what I really want. Really want. It's been an amazing session, Jono. Amazing. I've got this really interesting sensation in my body that I had before, just before I had the mystical experience, where it's like the energy is moving around my belly. It's interesting. It's, yeah, something.
Maybe another mystical experience coming on this afternoon.
Something important. Yeah, something important is happening within. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing about it next time. So join on Sunday evening if you can, or I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah. Thank you ever so much. Thank you, Susie.
That's okay. Take care. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, peace be with you.
Okay, so that brings us to a meditation. Any thoughts on the lesson? Anything you want to discuss? And you notice these lessons are getting very short and simple. It's just
it's
just a drop into that presence.
Yeah,
Experience it.
It's just it feels really loud. But I see what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, I think.
What feels really loud?
Like you said, the ego, it's but then that's, I don't know whether I don't know if that's a contrast or what. For me, trying to identify with the ego and saying it's the inner child or no understanding, but I've just got, like you said, I'd wrote today, the only thing I've written is I'm not in charge, and that's okay. Because I think that's the big, like I said, it's all about control. This morning I felt that too.
And a lot of your past learning, it served you to get to this point, but as I said to Sally, you've got to let it go. So maybe that's not serving me anymore. I can't go into this, all of that, whatever the concepts were, the inner child and he's asking you to just let all that go and go to the one self, go to the ultimate truth, which transcends all of that. And just, you don't know, in that you've denied that self, so you don't know. So you got to open yourself up to this presence of it, the remembrance of it in your mind, which is the Holy Spirit, that's going to come in if you invite it, and it's going to guide you and it's going to tell you what to do.
But that's it. I'm all right doing these sessions and everything in the day, the hours, but it's at night. I mean, I don't know how much sleep I got last night, but it's not a lot. I even went out the other night and came in and only managed 4 hours, and then it's just like, it is that game. It's that, and it is a game. And although I'm partaking in it, because it feels like I can't seem to let go of it, and it's just that identity of the ego that's strong.
It's fighting for dear life, but that's good. Got it on the run. So
I weren't expecting you to say it's good then, but okay, I'll keep fighting. I'll keep banging on that door to see if it will happen. But like you said, it's not going to happen unless you just let go. So
just try saying, I am love.
I am love.
You're lying awake at night, and you've got a great opportunity just to
yes, that's true.
Yourself over and over. I am love. Again, I am love. I am love. And just, if you awake for an hour or two, you've got an hour or two of reprogramming. Just I am love. So simple. That's all you got to, even if you're really tired, you haven't sleep, you can say I am love. I am love. And just say it over and over again. And you might find something just shifts and you drop off to sleep in that loving awareness. Or
Yeah,
you
I
have
have.
a
Yeah.
major, spiritual awakening or mystical experience. Who knows? But just use that essence statement. I am love. Again, write it out. You need to
I've really trained myself not to believe that, haven't I, though?
yeah, which is why the statement is the undoing of everything you believe in about yourself, your ego. In a simple 3-word statement, you've got the absolute undoing of your entire ego, and that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it just takes you in to that state. The more you use it to get you into the state, the more it's like, I am love. And then that becomes the anchor. If you know NLP, it becomes the anchor into the state. I am love. And you just drop in to that true state of mind, into your true self. So then, once you get really good at this, it's just like, if there's any flicker and any wavering, the ego's trying to come back. I am love. And you just drop back in there. And you've done it so many times that experience instantly comes, and you're back in that expanded state. So just practice. The more doubts come up, the more the ego is kicking off. Just counter with, I am love. I am love. I'm still love. I'm still that loving presence. I am still love. And you keep telling yourself that, and you're just reprogramming all the time. Reprogramming your mind to believe that ultimately. And ultimately to know it as true. You don't believe it anymore. You've gone beyond belief. You know it to be true in the very core of your being, without any doubt, without hesitation, because you've transcended all of that. You know that you are love. And then it just becomes who you are. And you walk with it, in it. It's your true awareness. And it's always with you. It can never leave you. Okay, so shall we do a
Yes,
meditation?
thank you.
Yeah, you got sort of 15-20 minutes.
Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah, I said I'd meet between 2 and 3. So yeah, it's 25 to 3. So
yeah, so we'll be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Oh, 10 to make it 10 to 35, 40. Yeah, 50.
That's 15. Yeah, 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Okay.
No problem.
Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting in a meditation posture, feet shoulder width apart, ideally, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Clench the sphincter muscles, the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Draw the energy up the spine to your heart center, putting one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space, drawing the energy all the way up into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So just check in and scan your mind. Noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any related physical sensations going on. Just breathe into those. And so there's just a loving awareness, spacious awareness arising in your mind, in which all of these, whatever the thoughts and emotions and the physical sensations are, they just dissolve to nothingness they really are. And to help them on their way, breathe in again, breathing in the love that you are. Remind yourself that I need nothing but the truth. I need nothing but the truth. There is nothing else. And then just exhale. Imagine you blowing away any dark impediments, blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Yeshua calls them an introduction to A Course in Miracles, letting them go. The breeze of your breath. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here. The bottom of the exhale moves the weight of the body, pressing down into the chair. Observe the breath. Just breathing in and out through your nostrils. And just listen to these words I'll read you from today's lesson. As you watch your breath, and just allow the breath to happen to you, through you, and for you. Just breathing in and out through your nose, and you observe that process happening. It keeps your mind in this very open, aware state. An empty vessel just waiting to receive this truth, ultimate truth that brings you peace. So repeat after me as I say these words. I sought for many things in the past and I found despair. But now I seek only one, for in that one is all I need and only what I need. I did not need all that I sought before, and did not even want it. I did not recognize my only need. But now I do recognize that I need only truth. In that, all needs are satisfied, all cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. Now I have everything that I could ever need. Now I have everything that I could ever want. And now at last, I find myself. And I'm at peace. Also feel that peace arising in you. Breathe it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Is in peace, at peace. Then give thanks for that to your source. So for that peace, my source, I give thanks. Breathe it in. It's given freely. In abundant supply, there's no limit to it. So feel the gratitude in your heart for this amazing gift. sink into that peace. You're restored to this place of peace which you have denied to yourself. There's only this state of mind, this beautiful awareness. Only that is true and real. So just for a few minutes, rest in this peace. Peace of God, it's been called by Paul in the Bible, called the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Because no intellectual understanding is going to bring you there. It's an experience, pure experience. So let yourself have that experience. I am peace. Say that. Give thanks for the peace which makes it real in your mind. You're grateful for something. You say, I have it now. And just surrender to the experience. There's really nothing else to do and nowhere else to go. Nothing else to think about for the next few minutes of deep silence. Just be at peace. And if any thoughts arise that seem to disturb this deep peace, just observe them casually from this higher awareness. Realize they're just like clouds drifting by. They have no power to obscure the truth, which is the pure formless awareness of perfect love. The analogy of the blue sky is your true awareness, and the perfect love is the sun, the light shining through that awareness. So they have no power. You just let them go. Breathe out. Notice how the air flows out, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down the front channel of your body. So rest in the lower stomach and your groin. And just rest here in this deep, tranquil peace. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. Just be at peace. Be yourself. She is this peaceful presence. Next 2 minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back from this deep peace into an awareness, more awareness of your body through the breath. Observe the breath flowing in. And you feel stomach rising and the chest rising, a subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clench the sphincter muscle, and you notice some energy moving up the spine, the Kundalini energy, all the way up into the crown of your head. The count of 1, count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So pause at the top of the inhale, just observe any thoughts, any emotions, any physical sensations related to them going on for you. Breathe into them to create some space, some awareness, some light. And then exhale. Just blow them all away. The breeze of your breath, notice how the air flows out, chest and stomach suck back in. Just cloud patterns leaving you, storing your mind to the blue sky, which is your pure formless awareness, and the perfect love that shines through it. So just anchor this state in by noticing it and then setting the intention to stay there for the rest of the afternoon and evening and on into the weekend. To help you do that, you can practice today's lesson frequently. Yeshua recommends every hour. Even if that's just for a few seconds, just to bring the idea, key idea to mind. I need nothing but the truth. I need to take a few seconds. If you have a little longer, you can use the instructions, follow the instructions I sent in a text message or email. That'll do it in under a minute, or there's a 3-minute breath break you can listen to. Have a bit more time just to top you up, turn your mind back into this truth, this higher frequency of who you are periodically through the day. This to accelerate your spiritual growth and help you to attain heaven, state where there is no form, there's no duality anymore, a little bit faster. So that is all said and so it is done. So now, counts of 2, just notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands and touching. Breathe in, notice any smell in your nose as you do that. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Notice all these things. A very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind. Just anchor that state of mind in. And use today's lesson, frequently practiced. If you find yourself going out of it, just reconnect with it using the lesson. So it is said, so it is done. And now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around. Think slowly around the room. Letting your eyes randomly rest on whatever they happen to look at. Just observe it in this state of pure formless awareness, without judgment, without interpretation, without naming it, judging it, labeling it, interpreting it in any way. And notice that underlying your perception of whatever it is this deep peace, same peace you had in the meditation when your eyes were closed. It's still there, even though you're seemingly back in the world, able to see and feel and hear and taste and touch and all that. This awareness is still there. Look at something else, notice the same awareness is there. And something else again, same awareness. So you're training your mind to perceive the truth that there's really only this one awareness. And there is nothing else. And that is the enlightened state of samadhi. Enlightenment then becomes your present state. Carry that peace wherever you go. You are the loving presence. You are the loving awareness that brings love and peace into the world. And so that brings us to the end of the meditation. And today's session. Just stay rooted in that awareness and shine that wherever you go. And I'll see you again next week. Thanks for joining, Susie. And thanks for listening, anyone in the recording. So there's no live session tonight. Next live session is Sunday evening from 8 to 8 p.m. So thank you, everyone, and namaste, which means the divine self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self and the peace in you.